welcome everybody. I'm Aja Cortizo. I'm one of the deputy head teachers here. It's my privilege to be working with Mrs Gardner as head of Year 11 and all of Year 11 this year, and alongside all of the tutor team who are in this booklet. So a really strong team. You do have an individual team of Year 11 this year, tutors. They're not in those mixed tutor groups anymore because it's such a crucial year, with a kind of bespoke programme and some really important messages coming through. So yeah, we're really excited as a team to be taking your students through this year. If there are two things that I can get you to take away and hold dearly throughout the rest of the year, they are these two documents. I went through Year 11 as a parent for the first time last year. And having done it it's my 21st year this year as teaching, but I had done it for 20 years and it is different doing it as a parent. And this is something that my daughter's school provided, and I've brought it in and we've got it here. It's basically the whole year mapped out, okay, by subject, all the dates that you might need. If you're worried about what this year might look like, if you think you want to start planning with them, or they're just worried about what's coming up, this is what that is for. So yeah, lots of good information in there about how we're going to support you and the year ahead. And then this one, if you don't know what to revise when, this one is for those students that say, I don't know how to revise, or say, yes, I'm revising, and have just apparently transferred notes from one place to another, or highlighted an entire textbook, things that don't really work. This is the guide to revision that works, that actually makes it stick. So these things together, dream team, take them home, keep them safe, and keep referring back to them. But for now, Mrs Gardner, thank you.
Hi, really nice to see you all. Thank you for coming, really appreciate it. So if some of you don't know, I took over as head of your students' year group at the end of last year, and then I will see them through until their GCSEs. Quick bit of housekeeping first. Firstly, do not worry about writing anything down or taking pictures of anything. All of the slides will be emailed out, and we're also filming the presentation as well. So if you didn't quite get anything that I said, or you want to check something on the slides, you can access all of that after this evening. If you have your Meet the Tutor appointment after this, you can exit and go across the plaza and then to E Block, where there's the Meet the Tutor event, but there's also some stands in the canteen as well. I am not expecting the fire bell to go off. We should all be fine. However, if in the unlikely event it does, we're going to exit through the plaza and across to the field. If you follow me or Miss Cortizo, be absolutely fine. So the reason for this evening is to help your students prepare for their GCSE year, and to explain how we and you can support them as they go through this really important year of their education. It is both the longest and the shortest year of being at school, because it feels like it lasts forever because it's important, but also it flies by, and it's not a full year at school. Actually, by the time we get to May half term, you have officially sort of left us, and then you're just back in to do your GCSEs. So it does go incredibly fast. We want to make sure that you have all the information you need, that you know who to contact if you need to speak to somebody, and then how we're going to support your child through this year as well. I know Miss Cortizo's flagged it up, but this booklet is basically going to be your best friend throughout this year. Any questions you have, the answer is probably in here. You will be able to find it somewhere. And this is for the entire year as well, so all the way from now up until the GCSEs. Firstly, I'm going to talk very quickly about the ethos of the school. We have two things that we think are most important. That's opportunity and community. We want to give your students the best opportunity for the best possible outcomes, and we do that by supporting them within the school community, but also at home as well. You'll notice it says challenge and support there. Some bits will be really hard, and your teachers will challenge you, Year 11, but they're doing it for a reason. They want you to do well, and they want to get the best out of you so that you can achieve the biggest success you can. There will be high expectations, but also with a lot of empathy. So like Miss Cortizo, I have seen one child through GCSEs, and I've got another one that has started in Year 7 a couple of weeks ago. So I'm about to do the whole thing again, which I find quite daunting. However, I feel like I know a little bit more now, having had one do it, and I'll be better equipped. So for students, basically it's these two things: work hard, be kind, which I did see Joe Wicks say. So I don't know if we came up with it first or he did, but essentially be a nice human being and everything will be okay. So I'm going to talk very briefly about getting the basics right. Students, you know this. I'm going to make sure your parents know it too. All of the behaviour at the Weald is based on being ready, respectful, working and safe. Those four things give you the tools you need to be able to learn really, really well. So being ready means you should be arriving on time, punctually, with the correct equipment, and in the correct uniform. Correct equipment for us at the Weald is 2 pens, a pencil, a rubber, a ruler, and a calculator. You do not need to bring your own highlighters or scissors or glue. The equipment list for my son's new school was like this long and absolutely massive, and I had to go out and buy a giant pencil case. Here, you can fit everything you need in your blazer pocket, and therefore you should have it with you at all times, because you should also have your blazer with you at all times as well, even if some of you might not be that keen on it. You may have noticed that there have been some new uniform rules this year. You can now wear 2 studs in your ear, and a necklace, and a bracelet, and a watch, and a ring. Very exciting. Please do enjoy the new uniform rules within the parameters of the uniform. That does not mean you should be coming in with giant hoops in your ears, like down here. You should keep hands, feet, and comments to yourself. Be respectful. If you need to ask a question in a lesson, don't just shout it out. Put your hand up, wait for the teacher. Be engaged, be resilient. Be really, really proud of what you're learning and work hard to learn it. And you need to be kind to both yourself and others, and yourself most importantly in Year 11. It's a really, really tough year to get through, and times you will feel quite stressed. So looking after yourself is key. You should listen in silence, put your hand up to speak when you're working. There will need to be periods of silent work, and there is a really important reason for that. In approximately 8 to 9 months' time, you'll sit the English exams, and they're 2.5 hours long, which is a really long time to sit in silence. So practicing it for 15 minutes in a lesson is actually very, very important. You need to get used to having that skill and being able to be silent and concentrate on your work. And be safe. Do as you're asked when you're asked. Follow instructions first time, every time. Your teachers aren't doing it to nag. They're not doing it to be mean. They're doing it because they need learning to be the most important thing you do. Doing something as soon as you're asked means the lessons can keep lots of pace, and you can get the most learning in as well. I'm going to talk very briefly about phones. We all know that the Weald has a very robust mobile phone policy, and that is that phones should not be visible between the hours of 8:45 and 3:05. This is actually really important. There was a study done about 1.5 years ago, and it has been published for you to read if you feel like it. It's quite big. But it can be summarised in basically schools that do not have phones on site, visible on site at all, can alter a GCSE grade by about 7%. And that 7% can be the difference between a 3 and a 4, or a 5 and a 6, or an 8 and a 9. It really makes a measurable difference. So there is a reason why we do not have our phones out here. If we get the basics right every day, everything else will fall into place. Your attitude to learning is the most important thing. It is everything for this year. If you've got a good attitude to learning, you can learn effectively. So be on time. Be at school. Attendance is really, really key. We're aiming for 100%, which I know can't always happen. So if your child is ill, yes, they might need to have a day off. But try and make sure they are in school as much as possible. Good attendance has a really significant impact on those GCSE grades that they will get at the end. Make sure you've got your equipment. For the exams, students, you will need to bring your own equipment. We are not supposed to lend you anything for your GCSEs. You are meant to have your own. That is not to say that we won't be there just in case you have a morning where you forget, which does happen. We will operate a swap shop. You will hand your precious phone in to Mrs. Beanie, the exams officer, who will give you a lovely pack of equipment. And if you hand it back in again, you get your phone back. Now, last year, some people forgot to hand their packs in and then did not get their phone back immediately, and that was very stressful for them. So do make sure you bring your own equipment to the exams. It is important and it will help you. Wear your uniform correctly, be kind, and look after your health. So, having had a child who's been through GCSEs, there are times when it can feel really, really overwhelming. So doing those small things that can help you take care of yourself are actually really key, like having a good breakfast in the morning. It is quite surprising the amount of Year 11s who tell me that they do not eat breakfast before they come to school. Do eat something, even if it is just a banana or a bowl of porridge, something that is good for you. Pack your bag the night before. That way, you've checked if you've got all your equipment, your homework, and all the stuff that you need. Make sure that you are getting a good night's sleep. I would recommend a bedtime of 10 p.m. with your phone far away from you. Really far away, so you can't see it, touch it, or look at it. It should be out of reach so that you can wind down. And that's really important as well. Eat some decent food, and do try, if you can, to keep some sort of hobby up or something that you enjoy doing whilst you are studying for your GCSEs. It's actually really important in terms of looking after yourself, and it gives you that little break from all that studying that you are going to be doing. If it's sport or art, music, dancing, doesn't really matter what it is, but do try and keep going with it. It's a really, really important outlet for your self-care. So, a couple of questions I've been asked before are whether students work in sets for GCSE, and I've broken it down on this slide here. So for English, there is a highest prior retaining set, but the rest are mixed, and everyone will sit the same papers for the GCSE. There's no tiered papers for English. For maths, there are tiered papers. There are higher papers and foundation papers. There is also a further maths paper, but this will only be sat by a top set maths group. Everybody else will sit either the higher or foundation papers. And for science, we have 2 triple science classes who will sit separate qualifications in physics, biology and chemistry, and everybody else will sit the double GCSE award, which is worth 2 GCSEs, so that's 2 grades that you get from that science. You can sit a higher or a foundation. If you have any questions about that, please do ask at the end. I'm going to talk about homework, everyone's favourite word, especially in Year 11. Homework is really key at this time of year, and that's because it will all be based around review, revision and preparing for your exams. Students, you've probably noticed that your teachers have started setting you revision-based homework already in preparation for your mocks. And there will be structured revision tasks for you to do in order to help you revise effectively. We know that it is not effective to do things like, as Miss Cortizo said, just read a page of notes or do some nice highlighting in a textbook. That is not going to make stuff stick in your head. What will stick in your head is using the red review techniques that I'm going to talk about in a minute. I've popped the key assessment dates on here that are coming up. If you take a modern foreign language, that's French or Spanish or German, your speaking exam is before half term. They will start the week commencing the 21st, finish on the 25th, and your teachers will prepare you for that. The actual mock GCSE session 1, that's in the first 2 weeks after half term, so the first 2 weeks of November. This means that you've got half term to kind of get yourselves ready and also have a little bit of a break as well. And then within those 2 weeks will be a full set of mocks. We have put a provisional timetable in the booklet as well. So once that is all finalised, the timetable will then be on Bromcom students for you to access, and you can check the times. And a letter will go home as well from me that details things like whether you need to get a late bus, if things are going to overrun, what equipment needs to be bought, and there will be a link to some of the revision things as well. They're also in the booklet. We have a second mock session. That's in February. It looks like quite a long mock session, and that's because it straddles half term. So there'll be a week of mocks before half term and a week of mocks after half term, and then the half term break in the middle. And actually, our Year 11s last year said they found that quite effective. It was really good to be able to have that little gap and to be able to then do some revision over half term, but also to feel like they've had a bit of a rest. The assessment cycle will be the same as it has been in the past, so I will send a letter home pre-mocks, so you know exactly what is happening. There will be the red review homework, which has already started. There will be our assessment weeks. And then the tracking report that you get after the mocks will have the mock grades on. So it will include all of that information plus the mock grades. Students, you get to have a really fun time because we do a mocks assembly where you will receive your mock exams, summer style, in an envelope. And you can open it in that assembly, which is both petrifying and wonderful at the same time. It's good to have that experience, but it also might feel quite overwhelming. Do not panic about it. It is actually a really, really good thing to do to get you used to that experience. And I will play some inspirational music as you leave so everybody goes out on a high. Haven't decided what it is yet. Something fun. The analysis that happens as part of those mocks is actually the most important thing for us as teachers. It means that we can then react and respond to how those students have performed in those mock exams, and we can plan forward in terms of what they need to work on for the next set of mocks and then beyond to the actual GCSEs. Students, I have heard this before. Some people go, my teacher never gives me feedback. And that is incorrect. Your teacher does give you feedback. It just might not be comments written on a piece of paper. And actually, comments written on a piece of paper are not the most effective way of feeding back to you because I can't guarantee that you'll read it. However, Your feedback that your teachers do when they say things to you in lessons, when you are responding by rewriting something, when you are doing a quiz and then marking it yourself and adding in the correct answers to pick up on where you went wrong, that's all feedback. Your teachers are feeding back to you all the time, constantly, in your lessons, in your homework. So make sure you're really taking all the advantage of all of that feedback so that you can then respond to it, and it will help you improve. This will go home in the letter, but there's also information in the booklet as well, how to revise effectively. You'll notice that writing notes out or revising with your phone on or listening to music is not the most effective way of revising. You need to make sure you are doing something active. You are doing something that cements that information in your head. The only way of learning well is logging something into your long-term memory. And the way to do that is repetition, practice, and consistency. So the red review that your teachers are setting you will be that consistent practice. Now that will look different in different subjects. So if it's a really knowledge-rich subject, so I and Miss Cortizo both teach history, there's a huge amount of content to learn, and a lot of our revision will have to be based on retrieving that key knowledge and then using it. For maths, you might find it's a lot of practice questions, because that consistent practice in something like maths is actually a really important part of revising. But do take the advice of your teachers when they set that homework. They have set it like that for a reason. Our red review boils down to these three things. Number one, retrieval. Everything you can remember out something from memory, no peeking in your book. Elaboration, where you then add in and explain the extra knowledge in your own words, the why and the how. And then dual coding, which is where you can use images or symbols or pictures in order to help that thing stick in your head. The human brain is 80% more likely to remember a picture than it is a word. So the dual coding aspect can be massively helpful. I'm not going to read all this out because that's scary. But if your student says, I don't know how to do that, I don't know how to red review, number one, they do. Their teachers have showed them how, because I've sat in lots and lots of Year 11 lessons and watched teachers do that. However, if you've had a busy day and you don't quite remember, the how to red review is all in the guide, and your students can use that in order to help them revise. There are lots of different ways of doing it, and they might find something that works really effective for them, but I would highly recommend trying out different things in order to work out what works best in each subject. You can see here, this is one of our knowledge organisers. They are available on the website for every single subject, for every single key stage. They are, again, a really good go-to resource if a student needs to get some key knowledge and work out where to start with their revision. We will communicate with you as we always have done. So you can log on to MCAS if you want to check daily how your student is doing. You can see their house points on there. You can see homework that's being set. And that should give you a kind of quick handy guide to how the week is. There will be termly communication, so you will get your tracking reports, which I'm going to talk about in a second, and you will get assessment letters as well. And then if you do need to contact somebody about something specific, you can see there's a sort of chain of contact there on the board. So if it's a general inquiry, please contact the office. If it is subject specific, so you don't know what they're meant to be doing in a science lesson or in DT, for example, first port of call should be the teacher. They know your student best. Then, if you're not quite getting the answer that you need, contact the subject leader for that subject. All of the subject leaders and all of the teachers, the email addresses are listed on the website, so you should be able to find who you need on there. If it is an academic query that you need a little bit more information about, please contact me. I've put my email address on there too. If it's pastoral, it's the head of house. And if there are any worries, students or parents and carers, please do email help at the Weald and someone will pick that up. I'm just going to highlight we have a 2 working day window to reply. So if you do not get a reply immediately, rest assured that someone will be getting to that within that 2 working day window. And if you don't hear back, just send a little email again and somebody will reply to you. The tracking reports will look a bit like this. So at the top you get the tracking overview. This has average attitude to learning, attendance, house points, behaviour points. Clearly this person's absolutely smashing it, no behaviour points at all. And the CAT score. There will be no SAT scores on your students' tracking overview because they did not sit SATs in Year 6. The first tracking report will just be attitude to learning. So the deeper blue it is, the better it is. A really deep blue means great attitude to learning. They're ready, respectful, working and safe. And then the lighter it gets, the slightly more concerned we might be. For the later tracking reports, You will also get that ready, respectful, working safe, but you will get the progress column. As you can see, it's the one with the green on it there. Green means they're making good progress in that subject. Yellow means we might have something that we are slightly concerned about, and interventions will be put in place to help with that. You see there is an assessment percentage as well. For you as Year 11, that will be the percentage you get on your mocks papers. And then there will be a current grade attained, and again, that will be a mock grade. It's important to point out that these are mock grades. They are not final GCSE grades. Those will come later on, but they give us a good idea of the kind of level you're working at now and what we can then do to help you. There are some enrichment opportunities this year. So the 2 enrichment days we can see take place in November and in March. The first one is our sixth form taster day. So if you are planning on coming to sixth form here or going to do traditional A-levels or B-Techs, you have the option to take 4 different A-level or B-Tech subjects as a taster lesson, and then 2 other sessions about what life is like at the sixth form. For our second enrichment day, it's more study and revision skills based because it's quite close to the GCSEs with some wellbeing activities as well. And ACE week we don't need to worry about because by that time you are done. All finished, GCSEs finished, prom done, everything done. Until you come back for sixth form. Now, if you have any other questions, please do come and speak to me at the end. Really, really happy to help. For now, if you've not yet had your Meet the Tutor appointment, then you can exit across the plaza and go to E Block. We have got refreshments and stalls in the canteen if you need to speak to anyone about pastoral issues, network support, our core subjects are there as well, extracurricular, assessment, tracking, homework, lots of people to answer your questions. Other than that, thank you so much for listening.